You ready?
When I say go.
I want to talk about Nop. We used to call her Ben Nop. Our baby Nop is Ben Nop in Vietnamese. And her name's Nop, Hong Don. When I met my wife in October of '69 and married her, she was pregnant. January 26th, she had a baby girl. I wrote my parents, and they sent baby food, diapers, and everything every week, care boxes, so my wife Tieng could take care of her child. My wife came back to work in less than a month, which is not unusual. After our first daughter was born, Linda, here in America, she went back to work in 2 weeks. In fact, she worked to the day before she had the baby. A strong woman. But anyway, we had to leave her behind because it was a problem with my father-in-law. My wife told all of her friends and relatives and told me, and I told my parents that the girl was adopted because my wife was embarrassed about being raped out at her father's farmhouse by Cambodia. I told my parents because they thought I was marrying a hooker and bringing home an illegitimate child. I didn't want to have to explain the rape. My wife had all documentation. It was her natural born daughter. Well, in '75, during the takeover, I found my daughter had been killed accidentally by the invading North Vietnamese bombardment around Saigon to take it over. I didn't find this out until almost the year 2000. But anyway, in 1985, we started getting 1984, 1983, when we got the paperwork all ready and done on my brother-in-law, his wife, and 2 children. We got all kind of nasty letters saying they were not Hong Don, my wife's natural daughter. They were all in different handwritings. My wife got so mad she threw most of them in the wood stove we have and burned them. I finally conceived a letter to immigration with my wife's signature that she would not sponsor her brother unless he brought the daughter. He didn't know what to do. He found somebody willing to pay him to come here and falsify all the paperwork. Anyway, she came here. We thought it was my wife's daughter. She was nasty, arrogant, and a real holy bitch in our home. We tried to discipline her, etc. But we didn't know what to do. My brother-in-law kept telling me and my wife it was the North Vietnamese indoctrination of her against America, and that we had left her behind the first 15 years of her life. Abandoning her is another reason why she hated us and didn't want to talk to us. So, all of a sudden, we're involved with the police. She's claiming abuse of all kinds. But she can't keep her story straight, so the police had to tell her what to say in court. We go to court. My wife is screaming and yelling at me, "Don't hurt my daughter, don't hurt my brother. I know you're innocent, but don't hurt them. They say the police is lying about them." My wife is sequestered the whole time. Anyway, I'm convicted, as other videos will tell you. The first foster care hearing we went to before court, the social worker said we had no standing because she was not my wife's daughter. Not even said adopted, just she was nothing to do with us. Until a lawyer corrected her. The second foster care hearing, they came back and said she was my wife's daughter. Then court, they said she was my wife's daughter. I believe she was my wife's daughter, so I yelled the whole time to get her counseling. Social services kept saying she didn't need counseling, she's doing fine. Here's a girl in a new country, all by herself, being chased around the house trying to be raped, according to the police, daily for 8 or 9 months by a raging raging lunatic, which was supposed to be me. And she didn't need any counseling. This is ridiculous. I'm the one that kept demanding foster care to get her counseling. They took her for a psych hearing, and she said her mom in Vietnam had heart problems. None of my wife's relatives have heart problems in Vietnam, let alone the sister of my wife, her older sister, that was supposed to raise her daughter, Nop Hong Dong. Also, right after she went to foster care, I found out she changed her name on her school records to Nop Thi Wing. That's Thi middle name and Nguyen last name. I kept the first name. The Nop and Thi is very popular in Vietnam. They're used as first names, middle names, etc. We questioned her during this court, and she started crying. And I kept remembering, my wife said, don't hurt her. She's all screwed up in the mind. She needs counseling, she needs help because of the North Vietnamese indoctrination through the school system there. So I told my lawyer to back off. She was making enough screw-up areas. She couldn't keep the lies straight. During the court, all she could end up saying was bad things. Well, after court, she changed her name again. The whole time collecting welfare illegally. Then I put a civil rights lawsuit in against the state of Maryland and Howard County and the police and social service worker. It came to my light that she possibly could not be the daughter of my wife. So I also sued my wife's brother and sister-in-law and this girl for smuggling in an illegal alien, causing me all this financial nightmare. Her lawyer and me made a deal if she took a DNA test that I would drop the case against her. Well, the DNA test came back that she might be a 10th cousin, even if it is that close. I mean, nothing within the realm of anybody you would possibly know in the family chain, way out being the 10th cousin, removed so far. I told my wife, she said she didn't believe the DNA. The judge said I had so much evidence against my brother-in-law that I would win. Bob Flanagan, a lawyer representing my wife's relatives, and he was also Secretary of Transportation during the Ehrlich administration as governor, decided to plea bargain the case down and pay me $1,000 and admit there was enough evidence for me to win at trial, but his client would not admit guilt to bringing an illegal alien. And I followed this back with the Circuit Court of Howard County again and again and again. And they said, well, she was adopted. Well, all these lies came back to haunt me. Then I told my parents that she was adopted so my wife wouldn't look like a whore, or they wouldn't know my wife had been raped, because my wife was very embarrassed about that. Anyway, I went to a police sketch artist in Baltimore City that ages photos of children, missing children, to what they would look like years later for child find and a lot of other children finds agencies, plus the police department when they found dead bodies. She would back age it to see if it would look like any missing children that had been reported in years previous. She said this girl was no way in hell my wife's daughter she left behind, even if she had thousands of surgeries on her face, ears, nose, etc., chin. It had changed so drastically that this could not be her daughter we left behind. The 2-year-old picture we had of her when she was 2 years old. My wife still doesn't believe this. She still believes to this day, her brother would not lie to her, that this has to be a daughter of hers. She won't talk to her though. Don't know where she is anymore. But I think she still communicates with her brother, even though If she does and I catch her, I'm walking out the door. Because she doesn't think her brother lied to the police either. Because when the police charged me and all this other stuff, her brother told them, oh, the police are lying about me. I never said that to them. Or when social services in Anne Arundel County called me demanding I pay their welfare, I never did that to your husband. And my wife still believes her brother, but won't talk to him. And as long as we don't talk about her relatives, we have been happy for 29 years now, since I brought him here 30 years ago. But we still get into it and fight sometimes. Thank God my wife is getting somewhat conscious again, because I hope I get my case overturned and this girl is deported illegally as an illegal alien, and my wife knows the truth. Also, when I sued a civil rights lawsuit against the police and social workers, it surprised me that the state lawyers called her as a witness against me and my wife. And the federal district court says no outside depositions. He wanted it in there with sheriffs present because he was afraid I was going to attack the girl. She got up on the stand and said her name was not Pong Don. And she was born January 26, 1970. And that I molested her and committed child abuse against her. And it took less than 3 minutes for the state to question her. First thing I asked is, you say your name's Na Pong Don? And the lawyer says she takes the Fifth Amendment. Now I find out the judge should have overruled him. If she answered any questions during direct under the deposition, she must answer all questions under cross to the deposition too, not just keep taking the Fifth. I brought the DNA up. I brought the sketch artist picture up that it couldn't be her even if she claims adoption. That the police file that said she was 22 and her Vietnamese ID to put her under a different name. I brought all this up. She kept taking the Fifth. Now how in the hell can I be convicted? First off, I didn't have care and custody of an illegal alien. I didn't even have care and custody of my wife's daughter. I was working on adopting her when she first came here, but I quit that real quick. But I was not a blood relative, and my wife is the one that signed immigration papers. The police and immigration lied about that. Second off, I didn't confront my accuser, which is entitled to the 14th Amendment and the 5th Amendment and some other amendments, because I didn't know who in the hell she was. I thought she was my wife's daughter, while she was posing as my wife's daughter as an illegal alien. And nobody will overturn my conviction of child abuse and assault and battery of a minor when the girl was 22 years old in 1985, and we were told she developed Parkinson by 1995. She was in her mid-30s by then, and she already had Parkinson. That's extremely young to get Parkinson. But if she was really born in 70, 95 would have been 35, but she was actually 22 years old instead of 15, so it had been 42 years old, which is normal for her getting Parkinson. Nobody gets it at 35. So what do you think about, should my conviction stand when the judge withheld all of this stuff with a Ritchie review from the police files, that they didn't turn over this exculpatory evidence, that they knew she was not my wife's daughter and she was not a minor? Thank you.